I'm willing to sacrifice a fun weekend with buddies to like go and make money because that money is gonna. I already have plans for it. I haven't even made it yet, but because, dude, I'm willing to sacrifice it.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I don't want to live the same life that you'll be living 20 years from now when you're still paying off that mortgage, when you're still trying to save for retirement and you're working a job you hate.
The less someone pays for something, they're usually more of a pain in the ass.
Like I can't even relax on vacation. What would I do if I didn't have to work for money? I have no idea.
You'd end up working.
Yeah. I would have to reinvent who I was. You put in the hard work, you're good to people, and then the universe just responds like with the blessings of doing that. I'm like, dude, 40 grand, I could get a 2,500 square foot house, put 20 grand into it and sell it for 120.
What do you think happens when we die?
Ooh, that's a good one.
How do you hope other people describe you when they talk about you? Like for me, it's like, oh, he owns a video business. Like what do you want people to like be able to say about you?
Ooh, that's a good one. Probably just like, the dude just knows real estate. You know, he knows like every component of it. That, you know, whether it's the building side, the investing side, the advising side, like that dude just knows real estate. And that's what I was trying and hoping to push to people is like, hey, if you're a new investor or like a seasoned investor even, like I already know all the stuff, know all the language. I know, you know, when you're talking about value versus value add and, you know, cash flow analysis and all that stuff, like I do that.
Right.
I'm not just a contractor.
Yeah. Which is funny because like that's transparently, like that's what I would think just from what I see you post and like getting to know you. I'm like, okay, he knows his shit. But like from outside, it's like, oh, he's just, obviously you do know your shit about contracting because that's a lot about the stuff you post. But so you would rather have people just kind of lead with, he knows shit about real estate.
Yeah.
But a lot about investing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And those two things go hand in hand because it's like, I can advise people, say if it's a homeowner versus an investor, per se, like a homeowner, they're not getting anything back from that project. Whereas like an investor's like, well, how do I stretch my dollar so that I get, you know, the income that I'm looking for? So I can be like, hey, you know, maybe you don't spend this amount of money here because like, I don't think that this project justifies that, but you can put it into these finishes or something like that. So you get your return on investment.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So like, I don't ever try to push somebody into something that's like, because I can make more money probably. Like, oh yeah, we could do this $50,000 kitchen, but the house is worth 150.
Yeah.
Like it's not worth it.
100%.
You know, or we could just take different materials, give you the same look. We could do it for cheaper. You still get a better rate of return on it. So, you know, I'm very honest and upfront about that when I'm talking to different people.
Yeah, which I think is obviously in any sort of like contracting sense, I feel like that's something that a lot of people are afraid of. Like myself, I've texted you about my fence.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, hey, are people giving me the right price? Or like, I'm probably getting the fuck you price of every once in a while, which is fair. Like, do it. Like, I understand them, but like, I feel like a lot of people just don't trust a lot of contractors because there is a lot of money to be made, and a lot of like, I just said maybe it's people aren't explaining why things are costing what they are. They just think, oh, they're just giving me a price because that's what they want to charge me.
Yeah, there's so many factors that go into it, and in your case, like let's use the fence for example. Like, there's just not as many people today to do the work.
Right.
So everybody that I know, all my friends, everybody else in the trades, they're just slammed.
Yeah.
Like so a lot of the times, and I don't do this, but I know that there are big contracting companies, they will give you that fuck you price.
Right.
Like, cause they're just like, well, if he takes it, great, I'm making a ton of money. And if it doesn't, I don't care. Like I got 20 other bids I got to do this week.
I mean, I'm guilty of it. Like I've done it where I've gotten projects like, it's not necessarily a fuck you to the customer, but it's more so like this, the only way I can do this is if it's really worth it to me.
Yeah.
And so I totally get it. But yeah, it's just weird. So like that same company who gave me this crazy price did my brother-in-law's fence, which is like 3 times the size for only like $2,000 more. And I was like, what? How does that even make sense? So it might've been because the other one was a bigger fence. I know there's probably a lot more that goes into it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so go ahead.
Yeah. So I tell people too that like contractors now, because I've read statistics that for every 7 people that retire out of the trades, 1 replaces them.
Hmm.
So we're actually becoming like rare.
Right.
So we're more of a commodity. So I hate to say, like, we justify a higher price now because there's less of us. And
Right.
people that do good work and, you know, are honest and fair, like, they should be compensated for the fact that,
Yep.
you know, it's hard to find us.
Yeah, and I think that's with almost anything. The better you are at something, the more you should be able to charge more than someone else.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
reasonable. I think it might be hard for normal people to know who's good and who's not, because like I've been on Reddit now looking at like fence building Reddit and stuff, and like someone posts a picture, I'm like, that looks fine. People are like, that is trash. And it's like, I wouldn't know, but
Yeah.
like I think maybe that's where some people go, I don't know what's good. I don't know if I'm paying the fair price for it and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But
And there are like hack job contractors, you know, there are. Then it's funny, like, even those guys are getting away with it now because they're like, they show up and they do it.
yeah,
You know, it might not be to the best quality, but they get it done. And it's like, it's kind of crazy to think like you gotta, you know, as a homeowner, you know, you gotta kind of just, it's a crapshoot. But I mean, if you look at their references, you look at their work, you talk to people, like, you'll know who's good and who's not.
yeah.
So
So currently, what's bringing in revenue for you? Like, how many fingers do you have in the pot
a
for
lot.
making money?
Yeah, it's all over the
Okay,
place.
break down a few of the big ones.
So the big ones for me is I'm working on a deal right now with my real estate portfolio. I'm buying a big acquisition, and that's from the same people that I've been buying properties from. They're older and they want to get out of it. So that's a big project that I'm working on right now. That's going to be like kind of a game changer.
Nice.
And then I have my passive income from my current portfolio. That's a substantial amount monthly, yearly. And then with the 2 other guys, we're doing the new build construction. So that's 3 things. And I have probably like 3 more.
Right. Yeah.
So I like to, you know, people always say diversify. It's like, well, I have a lot of different income streams from a lot of different projects.
Yeah. In terms of like the contracting stuff, those other businesses as well, because like I know you did work on like the flip series and stuff like that, and
Yeah. So working primarily with investors now versus homeowners. I am starting a project tomorrow actually for a homeowner, and that's becoming more rare that I'll take on homeowner work. But that was a good friend of mine, a reference, and so now it's like kind of hard to get me to do your one-off, you know, like your kitchen or something like that, because I have connections and some mentors and resources that it's like these guys own tons of properties. So I'm only as available as the time, you know, the hours in the day. So I don't have to think about those ones. They're steady income. So the contracting has changed, you know, versus a typical contractor that just needs leads and needs references and does, you know, one-off projects for homeowners. Now it's like, now I don't have to go look for work.
right.
It
If someone
comes to me.
if someone sees you building something, it's probably either for something you're working on or for an investor at this point.
Yeah.
And I think that's even like with what I do. Once you go from like consumer to essentially B2B of an investor, the conversations change. The work is usually a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
Because it's just like you're not.
Well, they're familiar.
Yeah, and they understand how the process goes. They understand what investment means. And you having the experience of also having investments, like you're able to like they just like trust me on this. And, you know, go with it. Did you?
That's exactly how it works. They're just like, yeah, we trust you.
Yeah,
you know, and
best.
And they're like, or we've worked with you and it turned out great. And like, here's another one.
Yeah.
So it's I never thought about it as like business to business, but that is more what I do versus business to consumer now.
Yeah, it's something that I don't know if it's the same, but everybody I've talked to is like the less someone pays for something, they're usually more of a pain in the ass. And it's crazy how it just transfers amongst everybody. And what's tough for me is like I'm cheap. So like I know sometimes I'm being that cheap guy, so I'll try to consciously not like still give you the same amount of trust. Okay. But I understand what I'm paying for. But
you get what you pay for sure. And I mean the worst experiences I've had were with the people that couldn't afford it, or they penny pinched it, or thought I was overcharging. And you know, I had a couple instances where it was just like a nightmare to deal with these people because they didn't want to listen when I was talking to them because they had already preconceived that I'm some shady contractor and I'm ripping them off and I'm making all this money off of them. And those were just the very few, I mean, I've done thousands and thousands of projects all over Buffalo, and I've ran into that 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And I was like, now I know what to look for,
Yeah. Yeah.
more so, but it's like, damn, I wish I didn't take that job.
It's
they
tough.
were the misery for months, they were just, yeah. So it's on both ends, a homeowner might have a bad experience with a contractor, but a contractor could have a really bad experience with a homeowner.
Yeah. Yeah. I think part of that is like, to the person who maybe can't afford it, that is paying a lesser price, and like it's just more of their budget. So like they're more emotionally invested, and that's why they try to like or they've saved up for so long, so they want to be perfect. Versus someone who kind of has the disposable income, can just be like, just get it done.
Yeah.
Especially investors, like if it's not theirs, like get it to a point where I know it's going to be cash positive for me. And like do good work, because I don't want to be a pain in the ass.
It's still the investor's money, but like they understand that it's an investment that might not pay off immediately.
Right.
Versus like the homeowner's like, this is my home.
Yep.
Like, and yeah, like you said, I've been saving up to do this, and then they get hit with, could be sticker shock. They're like, I can't believe it costs that much. I was like, well, what are you basing it off of?
Yeah.
Are you basing it off of early 2000s pricing? Then yeah, like everything else, the entire economy, it's more expensive to do things.
Right.
So, gas, lumber, insurance, whatever, any overhead, it's like people.
Like having hired people.
Yeah. When I first started, man, I could pay guys at a rate, and now like I can barely get those guys for anywhere near what I used to pay them.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, my bills are more expensive.
Yep.
So everything translates into that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I used to do bathroom models for $8,000. Now they're probably double that.
Yeah.
It's just, shipping the materials over from wherever they're coming from. I mean, that raises the price of it. So everything translates into like the global economy.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think that whatever you charge is going right to your pocket.
Right.
And like, that'd be great. Like when I tell people how much I make, they're like, great. I'm like, no. How much the business makes is great. How much I take home is not that. A lot of people just think like they're just filling your pockets up with money. It's like, you don't understand what goes into doing what you do.
Yeah. And I have a cost of living as well. I have gas and groceries, and, I have to be able to sustain my lifestyle as well. So it's like, I'm not going to take a hit for, like not be able to pay my bills for you.
Right.
Like, this is just the cost of doing business. So.
Yeah. Did you start with investments and then pick up the contracting, or did you more contracting and then get into investing?
I kind of did a little bit of everything.
Okay.
This is actually like an accidental business. Like it just kind of became its own thing. I call it like a snowball. So I let the snowball go down the hill, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it's like, I can't stop it. Cause like now deals are coming to me, and I'm like, I didn't even look for that. Like it's just, it becomes its own machine. And I went to college for different things, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was doing contracting on the side just from referrals and things like that, help pay my bills. And then I bought my first investment property when I was 21, and I just kept getting the benefit of having that. And then it just kind of kept growing to the point of like, when I finished college, I was looking at, jobs that were available. I have a chemical engineering degree, out of all things.
Yeah.
But I was looking at chemical engineering jobs, and I'm like, I make way more contracting. And I was like, I don't know if I want to sit in an office all day or a lab. And so I kind of just like, all right, let me do a couple more projects. I'll keep looking for jobs and see where that goes. And I never ended up using my degree. So, and then I just kept growing and growing. So,
yeah. How did you get that first investment? Like what made you go, I'm going to do this at such a young age?
Well, I needed a place to live.
Okay.
Yeah. So my first one is, everyone calls it house hacking. I just call it being smart with your money. We bought a 2-unit in North Buffalo. It was me and my sister. So my sister had a really good income job, and I had a lot of available cash on hand from contracting. So we went in 50-50 on this house, and we actually lived together in one of the units. We were both young. She wasn't married at the time, so it worked out. And then the rental income paid the mortgage. So all through my early 20s, like I didn't have to worry about a mortgage payment really.
Right.
You know, I had to make sure we had good tenants and pay the taxes and the general upkeep and stuff like that. But, you know, to not have that looming mortgage over your head,
Mhm.
like kind of allowed me to explore other things.
Right.
So that was my first investment property.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good, those things are like, it's, you said, it's being smart with your money, but it's like the timing. Like right now, for me being 35, I'd be like, it's not right for me to go like live with my sister.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
has
yeah.
to line up. But there's ways,
Right.
obviously, house I could be like, whatever you want to. You can do it with a
Yeah.
couple, I guess, too. But like,
Yeah, you can do it as a
yeah.
young couple. You can do it. I mean, you could do it even if you had a kid.
Mhm.
You know, you could find a duplex, for example, of 3 bedrooms, and then the other side helps offset the mortgage.
Yeah. I feel like at a younger age, though, you have a little more options.
Yeah.
You have more flexibility.
Yeah.
Like, if I wanted to do that right now, there's no way I'm
Yeah.
gonna convince my wife, like, hey,
Right.
we're gonna go do this. But
She's like, we're not living with your sister.
so you had that house and you were also doing contracting for like other people, or is it mainly
Yeah.
you did contracting to work on your own investment property?
So I was doing contracting, and then in my early 20s, I started doing flips
Hmm.
because Buffalo, this is, 15 years ago, you used to be able to buy houses in Buffalo for like 30, 40 grand. And I had that saved and I started seeing these opportunities pop up. And I grew up in like a very impoverished area. So like I think other people were like dissuaded from certain areas, or is that the right word? Dissuaded?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were like, well, that's kind of a rough area. I'm like, it's nicer than where I grew up. And so when I was looking at these places, I'm like, dude, 40 grand, I could get a 2,500 square foot house, put 20 grand into it and sell it for 120, and that's what I did. And I did all the work myself.
Mhm.
And I started doing flips, and then one flip turned into 2 flips. And then I started getting, and then from that, I started getting people like, hey, I want to do flips too. Or I own 10 houses in this neighborhood. Could you do work for me? So that's where it kind of
This
started.
snowball started.
Yeah, yeah, it started to do that. And then I got away from flips, just because of the tax implications of them. So when you do a flip, you don't get the benefit of holding it long term, which is depreciation. And then when you sell it, you have to pay capital gains tax. So not only are you paying income tax, but you're also paying capital gains. So if I bought it for, let's say 40, put 20 into it, sold it for 120. Well, I made 60 grand up front, but then Uncle Sam comes at the end of the year and he might take 35, 40% of that.
Mhm.
Whereas if you held on to it, turned it into a rental property, there is no actual gains because you didn't get that money,
Right.
right? It's just the value of the house. And then when it becomes a rental property, you get depreciation, which you write off every single year against your normal income.
So you would,
So I basically regret selling all those houses because I could have had 20 something houses
Mhm.
and I was mostly in South Buffalo, but I could have had 20 something houses there that have, 15 years ago, they'd be worth double and if not triple than what they are now.
Yeah.
And I would have been able to claim depreciation on them all this time
Right.
and get rent from them. And I'm like, man, I wish I didn't sell
and
those.
then still be able to sell them at whatever.
Yeah,
And obviously
yeah.
that whatever you've saved over the course of owning it
Mhm.
kind of offsets the
Yeah.
taxes and stuff. Of
Yeah.
when did you sell?
You never like get away from your capital gains
Mm-hmm.
liability, but then there's also a thing called a 1031 exchange. Whereas if I had 20 houses in South Buffalo and I decided to sell them all as a package deal, you can do a 1031 exchange, which is you buy more rental property and you don't pay any capital gains because you're reinvesting it. So that's another option. And people do that.
Yeah.
They use it like a stepping stone into bigger projects. So I could have done that, but I didn't know that.
Right.
I was looking at and this is kind of segues into like other contractors that I know. I was back then looking for that quick buck. And I'm like, hey man, I just made 40 grand, even after the capital gains. Like, that's great. I did it in a couple months, and it was the quick buck versus the long-term play.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people just don't see that,
Mhm.
like the patience. And I didn't see it back then, but now I do.
Is this something that you see other contractors that you like, dude, if you just did what I do, you'd be able to stop remodeling kitchens for every
Yeah.
person who emails you.
Dude, I've had this conversation with everybody that I've worked with. I'm like, do you want to do contracting all the way until your 50s? And, you know, your knees are shot and your back shot? Because, like, it's hard work. It's like, I understand that you can make a really good living doing contracting, especially today, but like, you're not putting anything into the future. Like, you're just chasing the buck now. Like, you want to take that money that you're making and reinvest it for something down the line.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a retirement plan.
Yeah. And I think, especially depending on what kind of contract it is, like you have a skill to where like you can make these properties worth more, way easier and cheaper than I could, because I'd have to hire you to do it. It's almost like, it's kind of weird that it sounds like not many people think that way.
Right.
It seems like a no-brainer. Like, hey, just use the money from one job, just buy one property, and just start the wheel.
Yeah, it's no brainer to me, but like it's so weird that like people can't be convinced of that. And I'm like, I think they just are afraid to do it, or they just don't have the knowledge of how to do it. And they've just never sat down and done the research or talked to an accountant or, you know, whatever. And like, you know, back then, let's say, you know, early 20s, who's going to listen to some kid in his 20s telling you about investing in real estate for something that's going to pay off when you're 40? So, you know,
I think it's people are getting a little bit more, at least open to listening to things like that, because there's more information out there. But years ago, people probably, no way, and especially like being young, and also probably most people just, like I said, I didn't know you were as heavily an investor. So it's like, well, they don't know what you, like, that you were like walking the walk before telling them you should do this type of thing. And it's hard, because I'd imagine you can't talk about every deal that you're doing.
Right.
It's like,
there's certain things that I can't really talk about because of privacy from people that I'm working with, people that I do work with. I like to keep them confidential, you know, because I don't want to put their business out there. But I've seen things, and like I said, I have a couple really good mentors. They're older than me. One's 10 years older than me. The other one's like 20 years older than me. And it feels so good that when I sit and talk with them, they're like, you're killing it. You're doing everything that I did, but like, you're younger than me.
Right.
They're like, I have one guy, he's like, dude, you're going to pass me. I'm like, well, that would be amazing. It was like, because I see what you've been able to build, and that would be sick, like, to get there. And he's like, just keep working, man. Just keep plugging away. Like, so and I try to now pass that on to even people younger than me.
Right.
You know, I was talking to a young kid, he owns a detail business, and I was like, dude, you got to do this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I was like, you're making good money and you're trying to grow that, but like, do this on the side as well. I was like, trust me, dude, by the time you're my age, you're going to be killing it.
Yeah.
So
I've definitely, I've tried to, I don't know, you might not experience this, but like, I'm a pretty goofy person, like outside of business and stuff. So like, I feel like whenever I give advice, people just don't believe me. People just think I'm an idiot. And it's like, I've built my business to be pretty successful, and I work with these people. Like I'm in the rooms, I hear the conversations, I learn a lot. That's what I'm obsessed with, is like learning how businesses work and how we can solve problems. But I've given, especially like I've given advice to people, and they just don't take it for one reason or another. You're like, I can't help you then. At a certain point, it's like, I gotta bounce.
I think for me too, it was like that reputation building phase of like, now they're like, everybody is like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, it's like, I mean, I even experienced that with like a family member who will not be named, but it's funny because he had an interest in what I was doing, say 10 years ago, and he just didn't want to listen. And now he's seeing what I'm doing on my own, and he's like, well, let me ask you some questions. I'm like, hey man, that ship sailed. Like, like you didn't believe me back then, and now all of a sudden you're interested because you see the benefits of what I'm doing. I'm like, okay. I was like, you know, it's like kind of a missed opportunity thing, but I get it. Like, I had to put in the work and show the results, and now I have credibility.
And the pick your brain price has to go up. Like, I don't know, I get messages all the time, hey, can I just steal a few minutes of your time? And I'm like, no. Like, it's just my time. And even like, I get people, I've started this is probably a dick move for me to do, but I don't take phone calls throughout the day.
Yeah.
Like, unless it's like planned, like I know it's gonna come. But if someone's like, "Hey, can we hop on a quick call?" No,
Yeah.
because like even if I'm doing nothing,
Yeah.
that nothing was planned. Like,
Yeah.
because like my nothing isn't nothing. It's like
Right.
just not customer facing stuff, and it's you know, yeah, you have to learn how to protect like your time, and like your knowledge gets more valuable because like
Yeah.
10 years ago when you were proving yourself, like there wasn't a lot of stuff to back it up, but now it's like, well, it's almost like guarantee when I tell you it's gonna work, so that's worth something.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
it's
I
insane.
even recently, like, I get blown up all the time. Instagram phone calls. People are like, "Hey, can you come look at this property I want to buy for an investment?" And I just recently started charging for my time.
Smart.
And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I need X amount of dollars per hour to be there."
Mhm.
And some people have been like, "Oh." I'm like, "Well, do you want my professional opinion?
Yeah.
Like, or not? Like, you have to pay for it." Like,
Yeah.
because you're pulling me away from something where I'm making money.
Yeah.
Like, you're costing me money.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't think that's a dick move, but like, you're asking for free game,
Mhm.
my
Yeah.
experience, all the time that I put in, my, professional experience. And it's like, and I'm not gonna like, I'm not gonna jerk you around. Like, I'm gonna give you my actual opinion on
Mhm.
things, and I'll write it all up. I'll tell you exactly, like, this is how much this is gonna cost. This is something I would look out for. You gotta look at your, what you can rent it for versus how much your payment is. Like, I'll provide value,
Mhm.
but like, you gotta pay for that.
Yeah. I think that's something you like you learn as you just grow in business. Like
Mm,
I wanted to learn something that a friend was doing. I was like, I didn't even ask, like, can I pick your brain? I'm like, how much can I pay you for an hour? He's like,
yeah,
$500. I'm like, fine. Like, just let me just learn this. Cause I know it would take me way more than $500 worth of my time
yeah,
to learn what he just told me in an hour.
yeah.
And I think they eventually start learning that when people start asking them for
Mm,
their time, it's like, okay, well, if I want to charge for my time,
yeah.
I understand I should pay for other people's stuff.
Yeah. And I'll do that for, select people. Like, I'm not going to charge a friend of mine or
Right.
whatever, someone that, I know is a good, but like some stranger, like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I don't know you. So, and I'm not selfish with it. Like I said, with my friends, um, one, one person that I just made friends with recently, just over the last year, he's like, "Hey, can I bring my girlfriend over and we can sit down and talk about this?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Mhm.
We'll pick a night when I'm, off work." And I was like, "I'll help you out whenever I can," because he's also done things to help me.
Mhm.
He's like, "Hey, could I borrow this from you? Could I do, or could you help me out on this?" And he'll be there doing it and not expecting anything.
Mhm.
So I'll return the favor for
Yeah.
sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, like I said, outside, like, just random people hitting me up, I'm like, "Sorry, man."
Yeah. You gotta earn the time one way or another. You
Yeah,
pay or you gotta like, be
yeah,
in my circle of some sort.
right.
Um, so I texted you yesterday about coming on, and you said I want to talk about this because people aren't willing to do what I've done.
Yeah.
Like, and what is that? And what are some of those things that like that you had to do to get to where you are that no one else is willing to do?
Well, just sacrificing, my time and energy is a big one. Like, tomorrow, which is what, the 3rd?
Yes.
Tomorrow's the 3rd. I'm starting a whole project tomorrow, and I'm gonna work all through July 4th weekend. Like, most people aren't willing to do that.
Right.
They're like, "Well, it's July 4th. You should take off. Go get drunk on a boat." And I'm like, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
I have a project I'm gonna make a good amount of money on. I'm willing to sacrifice a fun weekend with buddies
Mhm.
to like go and make money
Yeah.
because that money is gonna. I already have plans for it. I haven't even made it yet,
Yeah.
but like, I already have plans to put that into some future endeavors, and I'm like, I'm willing to sacrifice that.
Mhm.
And I sacrificed a lot of my 20s and now into my 30s of things that would have been enjoyable, would have been fun, time with friends, vacations, all that stuff, weekends. I mean, I work pretty much every
Mhm.
weekend. And people are like, "Well, how do you?" I'm like, "Because, dude, I'm willing to sacrifice it."
Yeah.
And it's like, because I don't want to live the same life that you'll be living 20 years from now when you're still paying off that mortgage, when you're still trying to save for retirement and you're working a job you hate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm willing to sacrifice my 20s and 30s now to live better in my 40s and 50s.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I have friends who've worked. We One of my best friends, and if he sees this, I'm sorry, but um, we started working together in retail like 10, 12 years ago, more than that. He's still working there.
Yeah.
It's like, again, he has moved up quite a bit. He's making very good money, but it's like, I don't know. I have something inside me. It's like, I can't be told what to do for my whole life.
Yeah.
And like,
Well, that's
even,
being an entrepreneur.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I was the worst employee. Like
Same.
I've walked out of so many jobs, and I feel like it's not even like, some people think it's a sacrifice. I'm like, well, to me, it's not. It's just like, this is just what I have to do to do what I want to do. And a lot of that times, like I have people say, "Oh, you work too much." I'm like, to you,
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Like even if I'm not working, I'm gonna go. My non-work is work. It's just
Yeah.
what I enjoy doing. Maybe I'm not doing physical work somewhere, but it's like, I'm gonna go learn about something.
Yeah.
It's just I think.
I'm sure you have like the same thing I do too, is like just the thirst for knowledge. I mean, obviously you're doing podcasts and you're talking to people. It's like, that's knowledge is power. And like, even in my spare time, if I'm doing nothing, I'm watching like TikTok and Instagram about contracting.
Yeah.
Or like new material lines that are coming out or whatever, or YouTube videos. Like, I'm always constantly learning how to like improve my craft or like new ways of doing things that I might not have thought of. I mean, I'll read spec sheets on trusses. Like, I'm kind of a nerd that way, but it's like, hey, in this future project, guess what? I already know what that is, you know? So it's the same thing. It's like, people are like, what do you do for fun? I'm like, well, I have these few things that I do, but most of the time I enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
So like on a weekend when I have no plans, I'm just going to go to work.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. You know, I don't put my headphones in, even if I'm solo, you know, working on the job, I'll be there just jamming out and getting stuff done. And then it's like, I'm always looking to the future. I'm like, my future self is going to reward me for the time that I put in today. So,
yeah, like I didn't have any shoots this week, and I was like, well, I'm gonna just come to the studio and shoot some videos.
Yeah.
Because that's mainly because like I like to be my own guinea pig on some stuff. So I'm like, hey, I have this process I want to test, so I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna shoot the videos. I'm like, well, it's a good week to start a podcast. I'm gonna start that up because I think it's an important thing to do. And I think that's what separates people who are good versus great at what they do. And I see it all the time in my industry, where you can tell someone got good enough to do something, but they didn't like it enough to like really nerd out on it. And they're essentially, they're going to end up hurting their customers because they're not learning the new stuff. They're just cashing in because the money's fine.
Right.
And it's kind of a disservice to not be on top of your shit.
Right. Yeah. And I feel that too, like as different aspects of my business are growing and we're having these meetings with maybe like an architecture firm or something. And, you know, say we're, you know, talking about a potential partnership and they're asking me questions and I have all the answers. That feels good.
Right.
You know, they're like, well, this guy knows it. He's on top of it. But not only is like he's on top of it, but he's also open to learning new things. So like, oh yeah, I just heard about that and I started researching it, you know, because things change, you know, new products come out and things like that. So it's like, if you're not on top of it or like invested, it comes out.
Yeah. You don't have to be
doing. People like, wait, you never heard of that?
Yeah.
Like,
you don't have to be doing the new stuff. You at least have to know about it.
Yeah.
And like, try it or like think about how you can integrate it into what you do. But like, there's tons of types of videos that I just don't do, but I know about them. I know how they work and how they work in a marketing plan. I know, but I also know who to refer people to.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I don't want to ever say I don't do it. Tough luck.
Right.
It's like, I don't do it, but I know exactly who can do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's built trust with people.
Yeah. It's the same with me. It's like, I don't pretend to know every single thing about what I do, but I'm like, I can get you the answer.
Right.
You know, I'll call my buddy and he can tell you exactly the airflow requirements of this or what, you know, I'm like, I don't know that exact thing. I have an idea of it, but like, I know someone who is also really good in their discipline and he can give you the answer and we can keep this thing moving. So
what are your thoughts kind of tying into that? What are your thoughts on burnout?
Burnout?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been burnout for 10 years.
Yeah, that's the game.
Yeah. I think burnout is a baseline. So like, if you're like constantly like at burnout, it doesn't feel like burnout.
Yeah.
So like, you know what I mean? I've had people like, how do you stay so calm? Like, how do you, I worked with an investor last year. I did a flip for her and she's like, I'd be freaking out. I'm like, well, my stress level is here normally and you're down here. So when it comes up, it doesn't stress me out.
You're just meeting me here.
Yeah, it's like I just
time?
live here. Yeah, first time. Exactly. It's like it doesn't. I'm like, because I've already been through it, and I was like, it'll be fine.
Mhm.
Like we'll get through it.
Yeah, and
So,
that comes through repetition. Like
yeah,
you just know how things. For me, I don't know. I'm a pretty even, like, level-headed person. I just always feel like things will work out. I
yeah,
just like, I don't know, it'll work out. Like,
yeah,
I don't freak out about it. There's no reason to. But yeah, I think burnout. I just don't view it as burning out. I think it's just the ticket that I pay
yeah,
to do what I do, and it's like I think I feel more stressed out when I'm doing that when I don't have anything to do, and I feel like I should be doing something, and that's probably like a side effect of just like being burnt out all the time. When I
yeah,
finally go on vacation, I'm like, all right, I want to go do something. I
yeah.
don't like this.
What's a vacation?
Yeah, like, yeah.
I took a vacation this year, and it was like the first one I think of like an actual vacation I've been on in probably 5 years, and it felt so weird to me.
Mhm.
And even when I was on vacation, I was sitting poolside and my phone's ringing and I'm talking deals with a realtor, or like I'm
Mhm.
emailing people, and I'm like, just do not know how to relax.
Yeah. Whenever I go on vacation, there's usually like 2 days. I'm like, this is cool, but then I'm like, no
I'm ready.
app. I'm like starting to plan some other stuff.
I'm ready to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me sitting in the airport coming home. I'm like, dude, I can't wait to go to work tomorrow. Like, I was like, that was fun, cool, had some good time, but like, it's just not me. The life of leisure is
Mhm.
not for me. Maybe one day when I'm older and not full of all this energy, like I'll be able to engage in more leisure stuff. But yeah, I don't think burnout I think burnout applies more to like employees, honestly. Because if you're not vested in what you're doing and you're just working for someone else, I can see how being burnout can like affect you a lot. Whereas like when you're working for yourself, you're just like, well, this is what I signed up for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It goes from like, I have to do this. Like, you don't have a choice to quit,
Mhm.
really. And versus being an employee, it's like I can quit and go wherever I want.
Yeah.
Well, market kind of sucks now, but yeah, I some of my friends who own businesses, they're like, dude, hiring people is the worst. I'm like, well, you got to put yourself in their shoes. They don't care about it as much as you do, and they
Yeah.
never will. And you shouldn't expect them to. You
Mm.
should just so you got to find out what do they care about, and how can you aid them in doing whatever, even if it's not their work, but like they really love spending time with their family. How can you make that job just work really well with spending time with their
Yeah.
family, whether it's paying them a good enough money or giving them time off and stuff. But yeah, people who, if you expect your employee to care about it as much as you do, and they're not a partner, that doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
Yeah. It's never going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. So luckily, the way that some of our businesses now run, we do have like vested partners. So like the better we do, the better they do. Or, through the advice and, just being good, solid business partners, like we can help each other out.
Mhm.
So everybody wins. And then that's like another way you can avoid that. Like it was just like, dude, I'm just, showing up every day and busting my ass for nothing. It's like, well, no, dude, we're all building something together.
Mhm.
And like, not only is like we're building something here, but like you're going to benefit on the side with your other stuff that you're doing.
Mhm.
So,
Um, trying to think where I want us to do that. This is a good conversation.
yeah.
So what, how have challenges changed from what you were doing? I don't know, earlier on where you didn't have as many investments, but now you have all these other businesses. Like, have the types of problems changed? Because I feel like when I was starting, the problems of like getting clients and all that kind of stuff, they go away,
Mhm.
but that just clears room for higher level problems.
Yeah.
And what kind of, like, what keeps you up at night, I guess, now versus what it used to?
Um, well, not much keeps me up because I'm usually so exhausted. Like I don't have time. I'm like, I get home and my head hits the pillow. I'm out in
Right.
5 minutes. Like I work a 12-hour day and hit the gym, and trust me, at the end of the day,
Mhm.
I'm shot. So, but I do worry sometimes about time frames. That's probably my biggest thing, is because when things start to move really fast, it's like exciting and it's also like stressful. And sometimes I'm like taking on too much at once. And then like I'm just like killing myself to make it all work. And then when everything works out and then you have like a down period where it's like quiet and calm, you're like, wait, I'm doing something wrong.
Mm.
I need to add more, you know?
Yeah.
So that it goes back into like the being able to relax and enjoy the time that you have,
Mhm.
like in between big things. So that's one thing that I'm like, it's a boredom thing for me. I was like, I feel like I'm not doing enough.
Yeah, I feel I get the similar, like, obviously, I'm not doing, like, a bunch of physical work, but I feel like we adapt so well to how, like, your current situation is
Yeah.
to your, like, whereas, like, if you met 10 years ago Riley and said what you were doing, you'd be like, "That's sick," or "You're coasting now," right? You're like, "No, I'm feeling like I'm failing still." It's like,
Right. Yeah.
it's just so weird that you always just, and that's probably just entrepreneurship. That's
Yeah.
probably what people, that just makes you a little crazy. It's like
Yeah.
you, and I don't know what it is. I know there's always like, should I just be happy with what I'm doing and refine it and just make it really good and like a life for myself? Or should I strike while the iron's hot? Well, I can do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's this weird balance of like, I'm terrible at saying no.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm really trying to do. But then you start like, oh, well, I said no to that much money. Like,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, that's really, and that's another thing that's really hard, especially in the contracting world. It's like saying no.
Mhm.
And I struggle with that today even. And it's like I say no to 90% of the stuff that comes my way. And it's hard sometimes
Yeah.
because I'm like, dude, that was a very important client.
Mhm.
Like, and I had to tell him no
Yeah.
because, whether it be like a professional athlete or someone with big connections, I'm like, I really don't want to tell that dude no. Like, I really want to do this project because it could lead to other things.
Mhm.
But I also have that coming from all angles.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you got to be able to manage your time effectively and then, just trust that you're making the right decision when you say no to someone.
Mhm. I find that even if you make the wrong decision, that's the right decision. Like,
Mm,
because you'll learn from it now. Like taking those jobs with the cheap customers. Like, oh, I took them. Wish
yeah.
I didn't, but
Yep.
now I know.
Yeah.
Um, I find that, and might be different for what you go through, but I in the past have said yes to people who are bigger names, or giving them a deal, and like with like the implied like, hey, we're definitely gonna refer you or something like that.
Mm,
And then I see them working with someone else,
yeah.
and it's like, why the hell am I even giving anybody discounts now? Like,
Right.
I can't put that much weight into certain people just because like you have like a lot of Instagram followers anymore,
Right.
and it's like it's so frustrating.
Yeah. And I mean, I've done the same too. It's like, whether it be like someone around Buffalo, like an athlete or something, I'm like, oh, dude, I'm going to get all his teammates, and then I don't. Like, I'm sure he's never even mentioned my name. It's like, man, did I really need that project? I don't know. I made good money on it, but like, I had the hopes of doing more. It's the
Yeah.
same thing,
Well, the worst is when you don't make good money on it.
Yeah.
Like I did a shoot at an ex Bills player's house.
Yeah.
Did it for $200, which is like, what I that's not worth anything. But I was like, well, it's a Bills player.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's with a very large brand. And then they got cut. But it's fine. I never saw the video. I was never able to post anything about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, the agent was like, hey man, yeah, if it goes well, obviously we'll bring you in. Never happened.
Right.
So now I'm just like, I gotta just charge you what makes sense.
Yeah.
Unless it's like really a sure thing that you're gonna get the referral or the future
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. And because of what I've done and the connections that I made, it's like that stuff is way less important to me now. I mean, it still comes into my mind as like a possibility, but like I have, again, I turn down 90% of the stuff that comes my way because I'm physically cannot do that with the amount of hours in the day.
Mhm.
So it's like there's never a shortage, and it's kind of nice to be in that position. It's like I don't have to think about what I'm doing next. I know something's gonna come.
Mhm.
So that's always nice.
Yeah, once it goes from like I need leads to I can't take it, the game changes. Like
Yeah.
even like the future conversations you have with people, it's like there's no desperation there.
Yeah.
Like, and they can sense it. You can usually sense when someone's desperate and they need to make
Yeah.
a sale on you. But if they say that's, you can walk away, it's fine. You're like, well,
Yeah.
hold on. It's a negotiating thing.
But it's also like with mine, it's like I mentioned before with the multiple revenue streams from different places. It's like, well, if I don't have any contracting jobs, that's fine because I'm still gonna be just as busy.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna go work on my own portfolio. I'm gonna call up my buddy and go do this. We have the new build stuff going on now. Like I have an infinite amount of work to get done. So it's I don't have to rely on one income stream. So
Yeah. Diversifying is so important. Even like I try to think of like how different, like I'm thinking about starting a new branch of what I do, because I've kind of niched down into, it used to be just real estate, and I'm helping you with certain ways, a certain person. Now I'm working with more, like anybody, like any professional wants to come in, but I'm only helping with studio-based content. But I want to start a new branch where I want to work with service-based industries like
Yeah.
rivers and stuff who need a certain systems, and that's kind of what I've been testing. But it's it's really important to have something, so if one head gets cut off,
Mhm.
the other thing can still
Yeah.
feed you.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I tell people that um, I'm working on a deal right now, and I've been kind of private about it, to be honest. I'm private in a lot of sectors in my life, but there's a, I'm now in a situation that, like, if I wanted to stop working today, I would be fine for the rest of my life. Like, I've built up some substantial holdings and revenue streams and things like that. So, like, I could retire at 35 at my current age,
right.
but I'm not going to,
Mhm.
because, like, I want to build something bigger than that. But it's, it's nice to, it's weird to say that,
Mhm.
but it's nice to be like, I don't have the pressure of
Right.
I need to go make a buck,
Mhm.
and it's like, I don't think 99% of people will ever experience that.
Right.
They're going to work until, what's the retirement age? 69
That
or
was
something. Yeah.
this week.
And then they're going to like pinch pennies in their retirement account.
Mhm.
It's like, I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, it feels good, but at the same time, um, like I said, I have some mentors and they're massively more successful than me.
Mhm.
And so now I have my sights set on new
Yeah.
targets.
Yep.
So like I climbed that mountain and now I'm looking at a bigger mountain.
Yeah. Like
So
I heard someone say, like, there's different levels to the game, and like it's almost like you get invited to a party, and then you see a back room. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go to this, and there's a few people in there. Then you're like, okay, but there's a door back there,
yeah.
and you just keep finding these doors, and like I have to keep figuring out. Like
Yeah.
you become like addicted to the game essentially.
Yeah.
Uh,
And there's always going to be someone doing more than you too. Someone that's bigger, has more resources, has done more. Um, and it's nice to have those people tell you like, hey, like you're on the right path.
mhm.
But they're not saying that like you're done. They're saying like you're on the right
Yeah,
path.
yeah,
That means you got to keep going,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's like uh it's cool to have that, and I'm very, very like grateful that I have that. So, you know, if I retired today, let's say, I would be so bored.
Yeah, I
I
will
would
say
be
if I quit, I'm quitting. Like what am I quitting to go do? I'm gonna go do something else. I can't.
Yeah, I couldn't just sit still. Like I
Mhm.
can't even relax on vacation. What would I do if I didn't have to work for money? I
You
no
work.
idea. Yeah,
You'd end up working.
yeah, I would have to reinvent who I was.
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
On the topic of like diversifying, you mentioned you came in here. You want to talk about like how you think everybody should have some sort of investment.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that.
So real estate, just because that's my main thing, I think it's the best asset class in America to own real estate, especially if you're self-employed, because there's so many benefits to having that if you have another business as well. Like in your case, I know we talked, you don't own any real estate other than your personal house.
Correct.
Um, but you're also self-employed. So you pay, I'm just assuming self-employment tax. You don't really have anything that depreciates.
I don't know. I don't know how my taxes are set up. Okay.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
just,
this is you
I
gotta
made
learn
this up.
this.
My company pays me a paycheck.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
know that. I don't know.
Okay, so you're probably an S corp,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
this can benefit anybody. This could benefit contractors. It could benefit someone who owns a nail salon.
Mhm.
I mean, podcast studios, whatever. Having a residential real estate portfolio or commercial, for that matter, it's the only tax asset that can also offset your earned income. So there's like this gets into like a lot of intricacies, but and it applies differently for each person's situation. Like for me, I'm not married, I don't have kids. So my situation might be different from someone else.
Hmm.
But um for example, like if I was to continue to do contracting and making money that way, that's what's considered earned income. There's also portfolio income, which is real estate, stocks, and things like that. Real estate's unique though because you get depreciation. So next year, 2026, I will have enough depreciation in my real estate portfolio that's going to add up to somewhere around $75,000, $80,000 a year. So anything that I make in my contracting up to $75,000, $80,000 is tax-free, tax exempt.
Gotcha.
Because I'm taking a loss, which is how the IRS sets it up through depreciation of the 80,000, but I also made 80,000, so it cancels out, goes to zero. So imagine not paying income tax on like 80,000 of your earned income.
Yeah.
So everybody that's self-employed should do that because that's money in your pocket.
Yeah.
So you could use, your real estate portfolio to offset your earned income. That's one benefit of it. You could, in your case, maybe you buy like a mixed use property. Now, instead of paying rent on your studio, now you have your own studio. You're making cash flow from, say you have a couple rentals in there as well. But then you also get that sweet depreciation.
Yeah. So we can keep using me as an example. So you're saying if you're small and medium sized business, to go and find a mixed use building, like say essentially a small studio like this with a house or an apartment or two attached to it.
Yeah.
Right? And then I don't know, it seems like such a scary thing to do.
It's not.
Like I feel like
all you gotta do,
landlord. Now you have maintenance to do.
Yeah.
And obviously buying anything is expensive, but
yeah,
it's like there's obviously a break even point.
Yeah.
You can tell what the depreciation and stuff.
Yeah, that's just one benefit of it. And that's why I love real estate is like you're buying something that the government says is going down in value and it keeps going up.
Yeah.
From a tax perspective, you get the depreciation. They're saying, it's 27 and a half years, by the way. If people don't know that, that's the depreciation schedule for any sort of real estate, 27 and a half years. So say you buy just an arbitrary number, $100,000, a building. The government says that in 27 and a half years, that building's gonna be worth zero. So you take 100,000 divided by 27 and a half, and whatever that number is a write-off every single year. But in 27 and a half years, you better believe that building's gonna be worth way more than 100 grand.
Yeah. And more than zero, because that's what they're saying.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as you don't sell it, there's no tax implications on it. But you can get all different types of benefits out of that. And you can offset your earned income from it, which is nice. So like I said, I could pay myself next year a modest, that's a good salary, and I don't pay income tax on it.
So would it even be smart of like, so I'm in this kind of this weird situation where I've been here for a year, I've signed my other year lease, and I'm thinking about, do I buy that spot? Would even just buying a small commercial spot do the same thing? Like say I don't.
You have to have an income from the property itself.
Okay.
Right. So it has to be making money.
Can my business pay rent?
I'm not sure.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah, there's ways of doing it.
Yeah.
It might be you set up a whole nother company, a whole nother LLC, and then Blue Dot pays them.
Yeah.
Rent.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's all your money.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I'm always like, I'm between like, do I look for a spot that I can do whatever I want in, or do I like build that spot? And obviously there's the cost is way different, but I don't know if there's any benefit over or one or the other.
Well, both. So if you built something for yourself, that's going to be your personal investment in it. And then whatever that number is, say it appraises for 500,000, that number then becomes your depreciation number. So there's many ways to do it, but it has to be an investment property. It can't be like your personal residence.
Sure.
Right. You get no depreciation on your personal residence.
Right.
So that's why a lot of people say like, oh, owning a personal home is probably not the best investment.
Yeah, I feel like.
Well, not okay. Let me rephrase that. There's two sides to the coin. There's a lot of people saying buying a house is the best investment you ever make, but in my experience, it's not, because you don't get depreciation on it. You have to pay taxes. You have to pay all the maintenance on it, utilities, all that, and like none of that is a write-off.
Yeah.
But in the call it commercial arena, it's an investment property, all that is a write-off. So
Yeah, I feel like a personal house only becomes like the investment until you move to your next house, and if you keep it, and now it's in a
yeah, exactly.
that's kind of what
Yeah.
I've been talking to my wife about. Was like, we're not gonna do the traditional like sell this house and use the money to down payment. We're keeping this one.
hmm
I'm gonna buy the next one, and now we'll just do like a long term rental or whatever
Yeah.
out of this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't.
And even that, it would be the start of, getting the depreciation benefits.
Mm.
It just cannot be your personal residence.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a scary step for anybody to do, but at the same time, like especially if you have a business and you're self-employed and you're paying rent, it's just like owning a house.
Yeah.
Like you can pay rent for X amount of time. Yes, your utilities are fixed by maintenance and stuff like that, but like I'm not allowed to paint.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
it's annoying, and you eventually want to be able to have something that's yours.
Yeah.
Because right now, if they came in and said, "Hey, we're shutting down," I'm screwed.
Yeah.
Like, and then obviously all the tax benefits and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's just, those are just some of the benefits of it. And, I can't stress enough to people. It's like, that's the only asset class that I know of, real estate, that goes up in value that the government says goes down in value. So everything else that you have, like stocks or life insurance policies, anything like that, anything that goes up in value over time, the government's like, well, you made money on that. Now we're going to tax you.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. So real estate's the opposite. It's like the cheat code for everything. So when I've had meetings recently with my lawyers and accountants, just wrapping up some deals and things that I'm doing. They're like, "Do you have life insurance?" I'm like, "I don't need it." It's like, if something happened to me, whoever benefits from it is gonna inherit all of this real estate. Do I have a retirement account? No, I have real estate. Like, I don't need to contribute to that, because it's like, I when I do retire one day, I'm gonna have all this real estate, and it's cash flow positive. And if I wanted to borrow against it, I could. If I wanted,
Even if you want to sell it all at once, if you
Yeah.
really needed to, you obviously pay the capital gains tax.
yeah,
You have options.
yeah, you have options. So like certain things that apply to other people, and that's why I prefaced this when we started. It's like, I'm not telling you not to go get life insurance if you have a family.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you contributing to an IRA is bad. I'm just saying I'm doing it completely different than the traditional, let's say, employee working a 9 to 5. So this is like it's an asset class that you can use to give yourself insurance as well.
Yeah, I don't have life insurance. I don't have health insurance. I don't have a retirement account.
My health insurance is terrible.
And I'm getting older. I'm gonna have to buy health insurance. I get it.
Yeah.
But like retirement accounts specifically, I don't know enough to know, but like I don't have anybody matching my contributions like an employee would, where it makes sense to just throw it in there. I'm just like, well, I'll just make more money.
Yeah.
Like eventually I'll buy real estate. Like, I'll do more with that money that will get me a bigger return than whatever this 401k or I don't know. I get nervous with stocks and stuff like that. And I just like,
Yeah, I don't have any stocks or bonds or anything like that. Everything that I have is invested in real estate.
yeah, money in touch when you need to.
Yeah, you could, and that's the best part about it. You own it, so there's no rules to accessing the money that's in there. So like retirement accounts, you take it out early, it's a penalty, and it's taxed.
Yep.
It's like real estate, there's none of that. It's like, hey, I gotta go get a line of credit against a property that I own. The bank's like, okay, it's probably gonna be 2 weeks, and they write it up, and here's your money.
That's nice.
Yeah, and the best thing about that too is if the bank loans you money, that's also tax free. So you're not getting taxed on any of it, which is nice because loaned money is not earned money.
So all that was super valuable. Everybody should eventually think about owning something in real estate. On a more personal side, is there a story behind the payback? The payback license plate.
Yeah. So I'm just I'm a big believer in karma. So I was actually just messing around on the internet one night, and I was like, let me look at some vanity plates. And the way it works is you just type stuff in and tell you if it's available or not. And that one, I was just like, that sounds kind of cool. So I typed it in and it was available. I was like, oh, sweet, because most of them are not. And I just live like, my personal philosophy is karma. So like it can be payback can be a bad thing. People are like, oh, payback, you know, I'm trying to be tough or something. And it's like, no, but it also can be a good thing. Like you put in the hard work, you're good to people, and then the universe just responds like with the blessings of doing that, you know, and it comes in like so many different ways. It's wild.
Yeah.
Like personal connections or, you know, people doing favors or like, hey, you know, I just had recently one of my friends, he's like, I called the president of this bank that you're getting a loan through and I put in a good word for you. It's like, you know, so that's payback, you
Yeah.
know. It's
I honestly, I would never have thought of that.
yeah.
Because it sounds like a tough,
Right.
that's on like on your old car. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, this looks like he's kind of giving a little bit of a bird to everybody.
Yeah. Well, it can be that too. You do
Yeah.
someone wrong. It's like, it might not be immediate, but guess what? Something's going to happen to you eventually. That's probably not going to work out for you.
I think payback looks better on a license plate than karma.
Yeah.
Where did that, is that something that you just learned along the way of like the belief of karma, or is there anybody that like instilled that in you?
Well, I mean, I grew up in like not a great situation and I learned from that by watching that like people who were shady or who were not truthful or vindictive and things like that, just things never worked out for them, you know? And as I got older and I realized, you know, the benefits of just working hard and, you know, doing the hard thing and like good things will come to you like that, it just kept happening. And it's like kind of a universal truth.
Yeah.
So that's where I get it from. And it's like, you might not get a reward for years of like, you know, just doing the right thing and hard work, but then all of a sudden it could come all at once.
Yeah. Yep.
So like all the blessings and the current situation I'm in, it's like I know that that's from like all the years that like seemed like it wasn't working or, you know, things seemed miserable at the time, whatever. And it's like now I'm getting to enjoy some of that. So,
Well, it's just like tying you back to like any investment. It's an investment in like your well-being or just having a belief that things will pay back.
yeah,
Like it,
exactly.
you just, you know, and I grew up in a trailer park and like not well off. My mom did a great job, but like, I feel like anybody I know who's successful has started from lesser than successful
Yeah.
tend to be running a better business than like people who just like had the business handed to them or
Yeah.
silver spoon
Or
type
got
stuff.
lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hit something at the right time,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just because you're able to, you probably just, I feel like you just got exposed to different stuff and like you just know how to like
Yeah.
bounce off certain things versus everything is going your way.
Right.
And you're like, then once one thing doesn't go your way, because like
Yeah.
I know people who have super successful businesses. I've seen them try to start other ones and they don't go well.
Yeah.
Versus I know people who have good businesses that want to start another one, they go perfect because I think they just have maybe it's like a different intuition or something, or maybe it is just that intrinsic value of just knowing what the right thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's just, you know, it can also, the whole theme of karma and payback and all this stuff and how I live my life, it also can segue into like, I'm going to do something right now that's like a project and I might not see any reward for it like for years. You know, I mean, I've done projects like apartments that I have bought and renovated and, you know, they might take upwards of a year because I'm just so busy. And it's like, I'm putting in all that effort and time and sacrifice and it's not fun. Like sometimes it sucks, you know, you're crawling around in a crawl space, you know, at 8 o'clock at night. And it's like, but if you just have the belief, like this is going to pay you back one day, and then it always does. Like I haven't really experienced like a failure on a big project like that. And it's like, you just have to be patient. And a lot of people, they're just not patient.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I get it. I have a hard, patience is tough.
Yeah.
It's especially if you have a history of things going quickly. When you have to actually learn patience, I think that's a tough thing to do.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, like contractors or people that I know that like they don't see the long-term play. And it's like, yeah, I get it, dude. You just did the project. You did it in 2 weeks and you got a big chunk of change. Like that's great. That's fun. Like it's good to get paid immediately. But then if you reinvested that, you might not see that money for a long time, but then it's going to be worth so much more when you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that I've been trying to, and I don't know if just because I didn't grow up with, like, I didn't see success until 30.
Yeah.
So, and I never had, not that I'd have people who were successful around me, but like my relationship with money was so different.
Yeah.
Because I grew up and like, well, I got money, I'm going to spend it on something.
Well, it's literally instant gratification versus delayed
Mhm.
gratification. And when you said earlier, like what's some things that you're willing to do, I was like, I'm willing to forego all instant gratification. Like, I don't need to see a return on it for years
Mhm.
because I know 2-3 years down the line, like that's going to be a great investment.
Yeah.
And it's going to be an opportunity to do more.
Mhm.
So it's like, yeah, I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
Yeah. That's a great way to be able to think and
Yeah.
to run your life. What do you think happens when we die?
Ooh, that's a good one. Where'd that come from? Because
I
I
just
literally have just been thinking about that.
really, well, I have a crippling anxiety of dying. I get panic attacks, and
So
I feel like talking about it helps me through it. But I was like, that's the answer to that question. I feel like will help people get a pretty good view on the person answering.
yeah, that's a good one because I've just in the last few years really started thinking about it because just a couple years ago my mom passed,
Mm.
and um, I have no relationship with my father whatsoever, and it was one of those things that, as they say, bad things happen in threes. Like, my mom passed, my relationship ended, and then I had a really who I thought was a really good friend basically backstab me, and it happened all within like 3 months.
Man.
And since then, I've been kind of thinking about it because it's like, well, I'm not married, I don't have kids, I'm working my ass off, and I have all this stuff, but like, what happens when I die? So like, it's weird to think that like in your mid 30s, you might have like, maybe it's called midlife crisis, I'm not sure. But like now I'm starting to think like, okay, what does happen? Like
Right.
what kind of like, I'm thinking of it as more like what kind of legacy do I want to live? But like, what was my point of doing all that? So I'm not sure. And then I've started toying with the idea of religion again for the first time.
Okay.
I was raised in the Catholic Church, and I know that that is not the place for me. Nothing against Catholics.
Sure,
It
sure.
just wasn't a fit for me. And then the way it was presented to me through my parents was more of like a forcing thing. But I started, especially with like the universal truths of karma and the gifts and giving and things like that. A lot of it ties back into like the Bible and those teachings and things like that. So I'm kind of revisiting that idea right now.
Okay.
So it's the first time I've thought about it in
Really?
a long time.
That's interesting. Yeah. I personally, I'm not religious at all.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Because I think, and that might even help. Like maybe I can almost wish I was religious because like
Yeah.
I would have I honestly think it just goes black.
Yeah.
I think that's it. And then I
Right.
don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it helps me take more risks. Cause like to your point, like we're all essentially playing on house money.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the when we die, all of our chips just go to the middle of the table.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not just play the game,
Right.
and do what you want to do the right thing, and yeah, just
There's a quote about it too, that I really like, and it goes something to the effect of a man has two deaths, and one is when he physically dies, and then the second is when the last person speaks his name.
Mm.
So that goes into like legacy.
Mhm.
And the end of that quote is like, in some ways, men can be immortal.
Right.
So I like that quote because I'm like, okay, like if you build something great in your lifetime and then people continue to like benefit from that, like that's kind of like the point of humanity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel like, oh, my grandfather, my great grandfather, whatever, like your name lives on,
Mhm.
So your soul, I don't know what
Yeah.
happens to it, but
Yeah.
that's where I get some motivation. It's like, well, okay, like I'm not just doing this for me, I'm doing this for future generations too.
Yeah. And as someone, we don't have kids in our future. I
Yeah.
think about that. I think like I have nobody to pass things on to.
Yeah.
Where it gets like I'm like I think the only reason I've thought about having kids is like who's gonna be around my deathbed,
Yeah.
and like nobody, or
Right.
hopefully nobody, because like I hope I don't want my wife to go through me dying,
Yeah.
but it's like just do good things and have other people, and that's kind of where I like kind of got comfort is like doing things where people will be able to talk about you, or you make an impact on somebody's life,
Yeah.
and they maybe but then the bigger you can build it while you're here, the longer the ripples should be able to
Yeah.
go.
And that's what that quote is basically explaining. This is we're on the same path, like same
Mm.
wavelength when we're having this conversation. So like, yeah, I'm feeling the same way. And it's like, I'm not married right now, but I would like to be married. I like to have kids and, pass that on. So I think it's like, you can do good, like you said, do good and build something now. And then like you can kind of live on after that. So.
Yeah. So what's future look like? Are you working for other investors still, or is it kind of you're working more on your own stuff, or
No, I'm still doing that. And then the new build construction is really taking off.
yeah.
That was it was me and two partners. We're bringing on soon a fourth.
Nice.
All like-minded individuals. We built our first house that went really well, and it just kind of got the wheels in motion, throwing that snowball down the mountain type thing. And now it's cascading into bigger things.
Yeah.
So that's going to be one component of what I'm doing. My real estate portfolio, that's going to continue to grow. So I'm not really sure what it looks like, but you just stay prepared for what comes your way.
Right. So you're more so that 90% knows is kind of increasing to like 95%.
It could be, yeah.
Like, hey,
It could
things are
go to 100.
Yeah.
It's
The
yeah.
yeses are more so
Yeah.
for like things that you have going on, and like that the new build's super cool. I think
Yeah.
it was kind of wild to be able to see from me from the outside. Like I saw the idea,
Mhm.
and then I saw it happen. It
Yeah.
happened pretty quick. I feel like I feel like it probably didn't feel super quick at some points. Like,
Yeah.
but it was just cool to see. Like it just so many people say they want to build and develop,
Yeah.
but they don't forever. And you guys just kind of did it.
Yeah, we just went for it.
Especially like Colby, who hasn't even lived here that long.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild. And
Yeah, you just went for it.
that's really cool. Especially I feel like you just had the right team that had the right right skill sets to complement the other people.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is really nice.
they each have they each are very strong in what they do, and we're so different in what each one of us does, but it all forms the team that gets it done. And that was another thing with the new build, was that instant versus delayed gratification. I mean, we all put in so much time into it, and like we didn't see any return for a long time. But that just opens up new doors moving forward, because they're like, hey, these guys actually did it.
Yeah.
They actually did it. They said they were going to do it. They did it.
Yeah.
And we made out pretty well on it. But now it's like we have a proof concept.
Yeah. Now you should be able to get yeses faster.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Because
But I was again, I mean, I could have went off and did contracting and made a bunch of money doing contracting, but like I was stuck there working, making no money for months.
yeah.
It's like there was months of like I didn't take a paycheck out of it.
No, you were working. I think Colby said you were like dying in a truck, but you're like super sick and you're still working. Like,
Yeah, I was still showing up. Yeah, I got real sick with COVID, and I was like, I showed up. I'm like, I think I need to go home. But it's like, yeah, but no, same thing. It's like you got to be willing to put up that sacrifice at the start for something bigger. So, yeah, that's working out, and who knows what the future holds, honestly.
it's cool. Well, I look forward to looking or to watching it, and
Yeah.
probably filming a little bit of it here.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there. But I appreciate you coming on. I hope someone gets value out of this. Obviously we'll put your socials and stuff up on here. Since it's like 90% no's, I was gonna say if you want people to reach out to work with you,
Well, I'm still always like for legit and legit opportunities and people who are serious about it. I'm always open to having the conversation. and it's not always a no. So
It's always worth asking.
yeah, yeah,
At least looking into it.
right.
No, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man.